Okay, good morning YouTube. This is going to be our gift from us to all the fathers and the gay fathers out there. We decided we've been getting a lot of requests to make a video on how me and Brian met and how we came to be the couple we are today. So we thought today, tomorrow's Father's Day, this would be a good video to make. Me and Brian have been together 13 years. So 13 years ago, I guess 14 years ago, I was in a relationship with another guy. And I was going to college. I had been out of the military for about 2 years. I was still getting used to being, living a gay lifestyle, as people would say. I had my own place. I was kind of, get ready to get a job in the sheriff's department. Everything was going right. Had a small group of friends that I used to hang out with at the college. And one of my friend was this guy, Brian. And I remember going to breakfast one day at a place called Rosa CA here in Santa Rosa, and there was this really young-looking guy with big ears and a cute beard.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And he was a friend of mine, and we started talking. We didn't have a lot in common. I think the one thing we had in common when we met that first day was maybe a little bit of love of Star Wars. So that was like our one thing. Me and Brian really didn't become really good friends right away. I mean, we kind of stayed friends with mutual friends. It was kind of just a nice friendship. I remember the first time that I ever had any type of feelings towards Brian was we went and saw a movie. What was the name of the movie?
Love, Valor, Compassion.
Love, Valor, and Compassion. And I remember Brian crying in the theater. And that's something that I don't think I could ever do, would be show public, any type of emotion in public like that. I remember looking at this guy going, wow, that's a pretty brave guy to be able to cry here in front of his friends in a movie theater. And I don't know, it kind of moved me. I looked at him as being kind of a really unique, sensitive, sweet, honest person.
It wasn't bravery. I just couldn't help it.
I guess after that, my relationship with my ex started to fall apart. He was very physically abusive, so I started to remove myself from the relationship. During that time, me and Brian became better friends. It was nothing sexual. It was nothing, it wasn't even intimate. It was just friendship. Brian's a very good listener, and he spent a lot of time listening to me cry and whine about my relationship. And I think that, we formed a really tight bond over simple things like running around buying Star Wars toys together, having breakfast, talking, and just hanging out. So, what was your first impression of me?
Well, my first impression on that breakfast was that Jay was unlike any gay man that I had met up to that point. And admittedly, that wasn't many gay men. I had been in a relationship with just one other person at that point. And I was very impressed by him because he had a lot of inner strength, and he was a very well-grounded person who had really put himself together in life, and that really impressed me inside. And I remember, I'm going to tell the story, and I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but one time we went to the beach. We went up to Goat Rock here in Sonoma County, and you walk out onto a little path onto a hill that looks over the ocean. And at this time we were just friends, and we were sitting there talking, looking over the ocean, and the sun was starting to go down. And then we just looked at each other, and we kissed. And it was like, literally felt like being struck by lightning. And I knew in that moment that Jay was the person that I was going to be with, and there was no going back from me after.
He's a great kisser, so I definitely fell in love with him on that day on the beach. I think from that day on, the spark started to hit. I had ended my relationship and I started dating other people. I started dating a fellow deputy that I work with, and I think Brian got a little jealous. And I remember we were on like a double date at a movie theater in San Francisco, and I was with this really good-looking, German-Japanese guy. Mm-hmm. And Brian was with a current boyfriend of his. And I remember the whole time during the date, Brian was kind of moody. I mean, he gets to be moody a lot sometimes, a little bit. Mm-hmm. And but he was overly moody, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with him tonight? What's going on with this guy? And then the next day I go, so what's going on with you? Is everything okay? And he goes, well, you tend to be the type of guy that gets into relationships pretty quick and stays in them for a long time. And I'd like to be a little bit more than friends. I'd like an opportunity to date you. And then I was kind of like, whoa, because the kiss actually came after this, that Brian had talked about. But this was the first time when I actually thought me and Brian more than friends. Actually dating, a relationship. It felt kind of weird because I always kind of looked at Brian in a silly way as a little brother. He always kind of was that nice young, guy that I could talk to, relax around. I knew who was genuine, who wasn't just trying to sleep with me. I felt like he was somebody who I could just talk to. And I really at that time in my life was drawn to older men. I was always drawn to guys that were maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years older than me. And Brian being 2 years younger than me, and at that time it felt like 10 years younger, because he wasn't the good-looking stud that you see here today. He looked very, very young. He was skinny and young-looking, and I just was complete opposite of everything I'm attracted to. And I think that when Brian first approached me and said, hey, let's give this a shot, I knew that it felt right, that our friendship, our relationship as friends was incredible. I knew he was somebody that I can be completely open with and completely trust. Taking it to the next step as being boyfriends was a little awkward at first.
Yeah, there was some hardship there, but we're very different people in a lot of ways, and it took us a long time and a lot of fights to get through how we talk to each other, how we come at life, how we deal with situations, whether it be working on a project in the house or just dealing with the stress of everyday life. It was a long road, but we've come down it here almost 13 years later, and we still fight.
Yeah, but we've learned a lot about how to communicate with each other, and me and Brian, I think, are very different people. We look at the world differently. We have different interests, but the things that bring us together is basically, our one thing is, as you can see, our love of Star Wars. That was like our one common thread that really brought us together. Was that interest that started making us hang out as friends. And then I think we got to know each other and respect each other for who we are, and move past all the differences and find all of our the things that we had in common. And we had a lot in common. We both wanted family. We both wanted a long-term relationship, that was based on trust and honesty. And I think we've found that.
And both of us, as different as we can be and as frustrating as those two styles can be, him being very aggressive and confrontational, and me being a little more diplomatic and peacemaking, that those two styles can help each other in the long run. And in a lot of ways we complement each other at the same time that we drive each other nuts.